So, in my last video discussing some of the leaked Elliot Rodger content, the mass majority of you said that you wanted me to make part 2 discussing the rest of the content, so here it is. In this video, I'll be talking about Elliot Rodger's search history, manifesto rough draft, and Yahoo Answers activity. Obviously, if you haven't watched part 1, you should check that out before watching this. Let's start by taking a look into Elliot Rodger's search history. As we already know, Elliot had a difficult time with girls, and this shows in some of the things that he searched. One of his searches includes him asking how to get a girlfriend on MySpace, and there's even a Yahoo Answers question that he looked at that asked the same question. Some of his later searches include him looking up how to go about receiving certain sexual acts. I'm guessing he was hoping to get some advice on women here, but the number of searches here relating to women are surprisingly low. In 2013, a year before he committed the Isla Vista massacre, he made a few searches pertaining to guns. He searched for Island View Enterprises, which is a gun store in California. He also searched for the Shooter's Paradise of Oxnard, which is a shooting range in California. Finally, he searched for a handgun cleaner and lubricator. Obviously, these searches were him trying to obtain and learn to use a gun in preparation for his massacre that he would commit a year later. He also made a few searches about the lottery in California. The reason I thought this was worth bringing up was because he goes into much more detail with this in his manifesto. When he was first introduced to the idea of what the lottery was, he thought it was his gateway to a better life. In his words, he thought he could get revenge on everyone else by becoming wealthier than them. He also hoped this newfound wealth would get him a girlfriend. He ended up becoming obsessed with winning the lottery. He would perform meditative techniques to attempt to will the universe into letting him win. In total, he spent over $1,600 on lottery tickets. Of course, he didn't win, and he was distraught by that. I must say, I'm a little confused as to why he was trying to obtain more wealth. He seemed like a pretty wealthy person already. He drove a BMW, and in one of his videos, he talked about how he bought a $300 pair of sunglasses to look good.
These sunglasses here were $300. Giorgio Armani.
I don't think money was much of an issue for him. It seems he also set out to start making money on YouTube. A lot of his search results consist of him looking into AdSense to see if it was legitimate and how he could start using it himself. He also made a few searches about World of Warcraft addiction and even went to a website called WowDetox.com, which was a website for people suffering from a video game addiction at the time. He also talks about his World of Warcraft addiction in his manifesto, and talks about how playing that game was his escape from the world. That's all that was really interesting in his search history. Next up is the rough draft of his manifesto, My Twisted World. My Twisted World can be found online if you want to read the full thing. It's basically just a 141-page story of his life. The rough draft doesn't really reveal anything new, since everything included here was obviously also included in the manifesto. It's just an outline of how he decided to structure the whole thing. The last of the leaked files just include the Yahoo Answers activity. He repeatedly asked the same question a lot on here. He asked a lot of questions about the Air Force. Apparently, Elliot's parents had recommended him joining the Air Force, and he went to Yahoo Answers to see how life was like there. More specifically, he really wanted to know if there would be any sexual opportunities for him in the Air Force. He asked basically the same question 10 times, but just slightly reworded it each time. Honestly, if the only thing he was worried about when going into the military was sex, then he definitely was not thinking about joining for the right reasons. He also asked several questions about his looks. Elliot was half white and half Asian, and I guess he must have felt insecure about this at some point, because 2 of his Yahoo Answers questions were asking people whether they thought half white, half Asian guys were attractive. In a later question, he asked why he was ugly. Obviously, his self-esteem was not the highest. There was one really odd question that he asked 5 times that said, "Will I get into trouble if I dump a drink over someone's head?" In the question, he described how he was eating at Panda Express when a couple walked in and started kissing. They did absolutely nothing to him at all. If it really bothered him that much, he could have just looked away. Well, he got so angry at them that he followed them out of the restaurant and poured a cup of Pepsi over their heads. This really shows how unstable he was, that he seriously felt the need to inconvenience someone that did absolutely nothing to him. But I think he actually perceived these people as doing something wrong. Finally, he asked several questions about whether or not he could buy a gun if he received SSI benefits. This question confirms many people's suspicions that Elliot had autism, since he said that one of the reasons he wanted to get SSI benefits was because he had mild autism and anxiety. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that autism makes people more prone to commit crimes or anything like that, because it doesn't, but I'm sure his autism played a role in him having difficulty functioning in social situations. And that's about it. That covers most of what was found in the leaked content. As interesting as it is to see what was going on in his mind in the time leading up to the massacre he committed, we shouldn't forget that none of this excuses what he did. Feelings of loneliness are common among all of us, but there's absolutely no reason to take the life of anyone over this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.